Hey guys, what's up? It's iFlynn here, and today we're going to be taking a look at my Frost Umbral build. Now, I did make a video a few days ago about how to play Frost, so if you want to check that out, by all means go ahead. But in that build, I showed this Umbral build, and I'm basically just going to be explaining the difference between a regular Frost build and a Umbral Frost build, and kind of a few of the modding opportunities that it can bring to the table, right? Because you can mod entirely differently because you have the extra power strength, the extra health, the extra armor coming from the Umbral mods, meaning that your snow globes are going to have a lot more effective health, which means you just have to mod for a little bit less power strength, and you can use the fact that you don't have to mod for as much power strength to mod for more things like extra duration, extra range. It's really up to you. So, to begin with, let's kind of explain how Frost works, right? So, regular Frost works a little bit like this. You put on power strength, armor, and a little bit of health, because of course having health plus armor is very beneficial because it means more effective HP, which is pretty straightforward. But it's mainly the power strength plus the armor, which is going to give your snow globe a little bit extra health. Okay, so we can take a look. If we go back, we go to abilities, we can read that we have 11,305 health on our snow globe right here, and that's because we have the likes of transient fortitude and obviously like power drift and yada yada yada. I could throw intensify on here, but I chose not to because transient fortitude gives a pretty decent buff, and I want to kind of have like a good mixture of everything. So I could drop something like prime continuity, throw on more power strength, throw on intensify, and have more health on my bubble. But then I would be missing out on some crowd control effects that Frost also brings to the table, right? Like his avalanche, like his chilling globe, which I am missing out on this build. But obviously the freeze effect that you get whenever you're casting a snow globe on top of an enemy. And if you don't get what that means, I'll go ahead and demonstrate it. We spawn in a man. We go ahead, we jump over, we put our free on top of the guys, and basically what happens is they get frozen and knocked out of the bubble. If they hit a wall, they're going to take a load of damage, and yeah, they'll eventually die if they keep on hitting walls and stuff like that. Of course, they have to be hitting walls at kind of like full force to lose all the health, but that's besides the point, right? So basically, we put our bubble down, and our bubble is going to be the thing that protects our defense pod, because Frost is mainly a defensive frame, right? So what you do is you put down your bubble, and then you can keep on casting your bubble on top of that other bubble to kind of like absorb the health of the bubble that you just cast into the one bubble that you already had placed, right? So what you do, put down this bubble, if an enemy shoots at it, you jump back in, and then go ahead, put another bubble down, and then it absorbs the health, and then it has just more health overall, which is pretty awesome. So people mainly build Frost for a spammy bubble build, which is awesome. But in endurance runs, you're going to want to have like a mixture of duration, power strength, and a little bit of range in there as well. So then you can also make use of the CC effects, which your snow globe, your avalanche, your ice wave, etc. all bring to the table, right? So with this build right here, we're lacking in our duration a little bit. Our range is okay, and our strength is also pretty okay. So we have a pretty tanky bubble, but we're just lacking that duration, which in my opinion isn't good. And we also don't have that chilling globe augment on there. So I've sacrificed a few crowd control effects, such as my duration, the chilling globe augment, etc., to basically make up for that in terms of the health of the snow globe, because I prefer having a tankier snow globe so I can be a little bit more lazy. But whenever I go ahead and I make my Umbral Frost build, you're going to see that we get pretty much, decent power strength. We have 166 on here, and then we have, what is it? We have 170 on here. So we get near enough the same amount of power strength. But because, like, your Frost Snow Globe is also affected by your armor as well, so the likes of Steel Fiber or Umbral Fiber in this case, we're actually getting more effective health on our Snow Globe, right? So we have, where's it at? 13k health on here, instead of the, what was it? What do we have on this one? We have 11k. So we basically get more or less like 2,000 more health on our snow globe just for swapping out a few mods and then modding with our Umbra mods. Of course, I haven't got a Exos mod on here, but that doesn't really matter because all I would be throwing on there is either Cunning Drift or Power Drift, or maybe like a mobility mod or something. So because we don't have to mod for as much power strength, because we're just using, Umbral Intensify to get that 66% extra, and then we have our Umbral Vitality and Umbral Fiber, we're going to have a pretty tanky snow globe, and that allows us to mod for a little bit more, right? So we can throw in prime continuity on here, so then we have 155% duration, which puts the freeze time of your abilities up to about, I think, 13 seconds. So if you were to freeze an enemy with your avalanche or your snow globe or your chilling globe, they'd be frozen for about 13 seconds, where if they overbuild, they'd be frozen for about 7 seconds. So, you know, it's not that big of an increase, but those seconds are like the difference between life and death in the likes of an endurance run, right? Making it so that Butcher can't run at your pod, making it so that, you know, you have that breathing room to kind of get energy back from your Eevee if you happen to get sapped by an Eximus or something happens where you just basically don't have any energy, because things like that can happen. A nullifier can hit your bubble, you have to recast it, you need that the opportunity to do that, and to grant yourself the opportunity, you need to CC some of the enemies, right? Because you don't want them hitting the pod while your bubble is down, so you need CC effects so that they can't just one-shot your pod if you're going up like level 1000 enemies or something like that. So, yeah. So basically modding for a bunch of duration, and of course keeping the exact same range, because I find that just having stretch on is pretty decent for Frost. So you have a decent sized bubble which covers the one defense pod in the void, and then like every other defense as well, like you can just use stretch unless you're doing something specific, like that one that has like the big power core. I think it's the Grenadier one, where sometimes infested can spawn. It's like a big cave. You might want to have like Cunning Drift on for that. I don't know, but it's really up to you. But I wouldn't be bringing Frost to that type of thing anyway. I just bring Limbo. But in endurance runs, I would definitely bring Frost. So on here, I've sacrificed Prime Flow, so I'm using regular version of Flow because I'm placing my bets on an Eevee Trinity being my squad. Otherwise, I'd swap back to my other Frost. But if I have an Eevee Trin, I would use this build because I don't have that much health. And even at that, if you were to throw in Prime Flow, I think you get to like what? You only get to like 425? Yeah, 425 energy with Prime Flow compared to 300. So that's 125 energy, which it's significant to an extent, but if you have an Eevee Trin in your squad, it doesn't really matter that much. But in trade-off, you can run that Chilling Globe Augment, still have a very tanky bubble, so you have more crowd control, your crowd control's lasting a lot longer, and you still have a little bit of efficiency. So we have 25% efficiency on here. Now, I could run a maxed out Streamline, right, and have that 30%, so it's 5% more, but I would also be taking a big hit to my duration because I'd have to run regular continuity, right? So weighing the pros and cons, is it worth it to have less duration for more efficiency, or the other way around? You know, that's really down to you. That's up to you to decide and stuff like that. But other than that, that is really it for the build. It is more just catered towards more CC while still having that tanky bubble. So it's the best of both worlds. That, and you also have a lot more armor. So 877 armor with 1070 health compared to, what is it that we have on Frost? We have 630 armor and 740 health. So you're going to be a lot tankier, which being more tanky is just like a lot better and stuff like that. So let's just go ahead and take a look at the stats of the build. So we have 581 damage on the freeze. We have area damage of 249. Duration, so the duration of your first ability freeze is 23 seconds 25. So 23.25, which is awesome. Then on our Ice Wave, we have 1,162 damage with a width of 4.35, wave length of 29 meters, and then the angle is 60 degrees. Then we have our Snow Globe, which has a 67% slow, 13,000 health, and vulnerability time of 4 seconds and a radius of 7.25, which is pretty decent. And then we have our Avalanche, which is 2,490 damage with 21.75 range. Then our duration is for 12 seconds, that's the freeze. Then we have our armor reduction of 66.4. If you want it with this build, you could also sacrifice the continuity for a transient fortitude and put that armor reduction up to 88%. So that's something worth noting as well. If you want to sacrifice you know, the duration, if you don't want to run crowd control, you could just go ahead and swap out prime continuity for the likes of transient, which I don't think we can actually throw on there. Let's see if we can throw that on. So that's 2 with 6 power strength. We have 82.4%, so it's close enough. You'd have to maybe take out Flow or something if you wanted to run that, so that's really up to you. But again, I prefer the continuity, so it is really down to you. And then if you have that what was it, the free from the top transient fortitude, we get our health up to 16,000, which is pretty good if you want to even tank your bubble. But like I said, you're taking that hit to duration, and it's really down to you whether or not you want to take that hit. So that reduces our duration on our Avalanche down to 6.4 seconds, which is pretty it's a big significant drop, in my opinion at least. That almost halves it, or I think it pretty much does half it. And then we have our duration down to 12 seconds on our regular freeze, and then the snow globe will probably be the same, about 6-7 seconds on the chilling globe freeze, which is kind of meh. You know, I just rather have that CC effect, because CC, whenever you get to those higher levels, is going to be the difference between getting your rewards and not getting your rewards, or getting to wave 100 or not getting to wave 100. So I don't know, it's really down to you. It's really down to you as a player as to what you prefer. I guess if you're playing casually, throwing on transient fortitude so you can get a lot of kills as Frost, as well as being a defensive frame, would be awesome as well. So you might want to make a second build where you have all of these mods and stuff like that, but then you go to config B, and then, you know, you just go ahead and throw transient fortitude on, and then there you go. You know, you have your damage dealing build on top of your defensive tanky build, which is really cool. So other than that, let's just go ahead and kind of test the freeze versus the enemies, and then you can kind of see how long they stay stunned for, and then stuff like that. So let's just go ahead and spawn them in. So we are going to be resisting their armor with our avalanche as well. If you're doing a long run, you're going to be running 4 times crucible projection, so the armor strip on your avalanche shouldn't matter too much, but this is how long that they stay frozen for. And if you're to stand in the middle of the map, you're probably going to hit like a large majority of the enemies that are around. So maybe give or take a few of them that just aren't in the radius. But because you have a pretty decent build, you can also spam the abilities quite often. Of course, you don't have the most efficiency in the world. But again, if you have an EV Trinity in your squad, if you have Zeneric, which is something that I also recommend running with Frost, then yeah. You're gonna work wonders with your avalanche and with your snow globe. So basically all you do, spam your snow globe. You're gonna see these guys trying to damage it, and you can see the health in the bottom right hand corner. It goes to 100. So these guys are shooting at it, and as it decreases, I can just go ahead and place another snow globe, refreshes the health, and if they shoot at it again, like they are now, the more that I spam my snow globe, the slower it's gonna go down. So check this out. If they like to shoot at it, shoot me. Come on, do it. Anyone? Anyone? There we go. So again, let's just keep on spamming it like so. And you see that it goes down a lot slower now because we spam multiple snow globes in the one, and it's still at it's going down 97, 96, 95, but that's because we have continued fire from, I think it's just the one guy? Yeah, maybe. Okay, there's another guy there, but you get the point. And then in an endurance run, you're going to have a lot more people shooting at it, so you really want to be spamming this as much as possible, and then also using your 4 when you can to just go ahead and yeah, freeze all of them, so then you don't take as much damage to your globe, and then having more health is on your globe is definitely worth it, at least in my opinion. Of course, like, you can make the argument that, hey, well, whenever you get to that level, CC is king, but I mean, you're still going to want to have health on your snow globe, you know, because if you don't have health on your snow globe, you're basically making one of the abilities on Frost completely irrelevant. And what happens if that one stray bullet, like, just happens to land in your pod, you know? Like, you definitely want to have at least a little bit of health. Even if it does get one shot, at least be able to put up your snow globe and maybe make it so that it gets 2 shot, or just constantly spam your snow globe or whatever, you know? So, yeah. There's a bunch of different arguments you can make for it, but me personally, I prefer having that health in the snow globe as like a failsafe, but then I can just keep on recasting it, restoring the health, use my 4 as a nice CC and all that stuff. So yeah, here's a second look. It costs 19 energy in the freeze, 38 on the ice wave, 38 on the snow globe, and 75 in the avalanche, which is pretty decent. And then a final look at the build, which is right here. And yeah, if you wanted to, you can maybe reduce the ranks of some mods and throw on like Pyre Drift or something, but it's really down to you. I don't know. I like this build. I think it's cool. I think it's awesome. So yeah. Anyway, guys, that's gonna be it for this video. If you enjoyed it, go ahead, hit that like button below. If you want to see more Warframe content from me, hit subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.